I always knew climate change was an incredibly serious problem. What I found out was the amount I could do to fight it. My name is Junayd. I'm 17 years old, and I'm concerned about the future of humanity. But I think we all are. All of us have known on some level that climate change is serious. It is a threat we have caused. It is a big deal. Because despite our awareness, nobody was talking about climate change on a constructive level. It was at the back of our minds, yes, but only at the back of our minds. And so political action was relatively slow and kind of directionless. Then something happened. Something that literally changed our global society. I remember the first time I found out about Greta Thunberg and the youth strikes for climate. I was confused. Striking from school? What is this? I've been involved in activism before, but never had it clashed with school. This is a big deal for a nerd. But I read up about Greta Thunberg, I watched her TED Talk, and took some friends along for the first UK-wide youth strike for climate. On Friday the 19th of February 2019, we were standing outside Shire Hall, the council building for Cambridge, with a few placards, waiting for what was going to happen. It felt surreal, and still does now when I do work for the Eco Council and for the Youth Strikes for Climate. I was actually doing something about it. I was becoming part of something much greater than me, a force cutting through the political mold. I was becoming part of the solution. I remember hearing this huge sound coming from down the hill. It was chanting. Kids in their hundreds chanting. Suddenly the sea of children pours into the council building, completely consuming me. And before I know it, I'm marching down the iconic streets of Cambridge with fellow children, demanding a brighter future. It was one of the best days of my life. The next challenge was turning that spark into a movement. The Cambridge Schools Eco Council was formed, an organisation run by children in Cambridge to demand climate justice in Cambridge and around the world. We hold strikes every third Friday of the month. We even had one during the spring holidays. We also did more than just strikes. We started to take part in community events such as the Confluence, making the links between cultures, arts, and climate justice. That's how you get people to do things. You go where the fun is. Meanwhile, our voices were being heard. On the 1st of May 2019, the UK government became the first in the world to declare a climate emergency, a big step forward in how we view and talk about climate change. And when our MP Daniel Zeichner asked Michael Gove, then Secretary for State and Rural Affairs, if he'd like to meet some youth strikers for climate, Gove said yes. So in June, we gathered together some demands for government, hopped on the train, and presented them to Michael Gove. You can find these demands on our website. These are our demands to national government. Make transport sustainable, phasing out fossil fuels, grounding non-essential flights, and closing ports to high carbon fuel imports. Transition to carbon-free electricity and heat production, stop fossil fuel subsidies, and make all new social housing carbon neutral. Support only climate-smart consumption, breaking away from consuming single-use items, phasing out advertising for unsustainable products, and making it easier to buy local. Change food and agricultural systems, aim for the UK to be 50% wilderness, encourage people to eat less meat and phase out nitrogen-high fertilizers to allow ecosystems to regenerate. Implement the Paris Agreement, cooperating fully with other countries so everyone can take action. Focus greater efforts to innovate climate science, law and policy. And make our school systems eco-friendly. Have more education about the impacts of climate change and ways to prevent it from an early age. Install solar panels and efficient recycling units in all schools. And encourages sustainability weeks in schools. Gove was a man of nice, friendly words, and he was actually open to our ideas, but we're still waiting for the drastic action we need. On the whole though, we were picking up steam as a campaign, and it looked like with a bit more pushing, we could get something done. And then COVID-19 happened. We knew that the crisis of the virus did not stop the crisis of the climate. We were in an emergency, and there was no time to lay back at home. We rose up to the challenge and searched for the most effective way to campaign from home. We started holding online strikes right from March 2020, gathering photos around a certain climate theme and making collages to boost morale and remind people that the climate crisis exists. We got in touch with youth strikers who performed at our live strikes and asked them to make recordings of their songs to go online. We accompanied these with videos or speeches about climate change and the need for transformative action. You can find this all on our YouTube channel, by the way. But as time went on, we realised speeches were all very good, but didn't necessarily meet the medium of the internet with its short attention span and demand for bite-sized information. We started making videos on how to be sustainable with easy to follow and remember tips. And this gave one of our youth strikers the idea of making posters about how to celebrate holidays sustainably. We accompanied these with petitions and articles shared on a regular basis, so people can take action and get educated by the click of a button. We were slowly rebuilding up attention and likes on the internet. We started to hold online webinars about the climate crisis, with speakers from around the world having an in-depth discussion and education on the issue at hand. Then, with strong motivations and rich ideas, we got in touch with the city councillors to have online Zoom meetings on how we can get to climate justice in Cambridge. These are our demands to the City Council. Create a citizens' assembly and climate advisory council with scientists, experts and youth representatives to respond to emergencies, taking the strongest possible measures to fight climate change and biodiversity collapse. Act now to restore local ecosystems, committing never to develop on the Green Belt and addressing Cambridge's water crisis. Commit to carbon neutrality well before 2030 and to follow through, reporting transparently to the public every 6 months. Support green local business, climate finance and renewables. Scale up initiatives to convert all roofs to living green, solar or heat reflective white, and support accessible, low-cost, sustainable buildings for all communities. Make local green transport accessible, green our buses and ensure net zero transport systems. Reduce the cost of public transport and make it more reliable and accessible for the elderly and disabled. And work with local schools to help children care for the local ecosystem through acts like planting trees and wildflower beds. It is in my personal nature to be optimistic. The reason today is because we as a global movement have already achieved a lot. Statistics have shown how universal concern for the planet is among the British population and electorate. No longer is climate change at the back of our minds. People are talking about the need for sustainability like never before, and we are seeing creative ideas on how we can get to absolute zero carbon emissions, from the Green New Deal to the Absolute Zero Project to our own eco-webinars. We have the money, we have the technology, we have the ideas. All that's left is the will. The political, corporate, and individual will. That is why we're going to keep up our fight for climate justice. We're going to keep holding our webinars to continue the discussions. We're going to ramp up our in-school activities and tips for sustainability. We're going to keep in touch with politicians to make sure they act. We're going to push businesses forward, raise our demands, and make sure that we keep pushing forward. I've learned what I can do to fight for climate justice, and I hope you will too.